We are locked in. We are loaded. We are ready for launch here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. It's another great day to be in Mississippi. It's nice and warm, no snow on the ground, roads look good, life is good. We are streaming on Rumble. We are streaming on X. We are streaming on YouTube. We are streaming at WYAB.com, the mothership. We also have our 50,000 watt blowtorch that is WYAB. So if you can't pick us up on the airwaves, follow us on the stream. Like, share, subscribe. Appreciate it all. You can follow me on YouTube, Rumble, and X. It's just Andrew Gosser, AndrewGasser. And if you want to be part of the show today, the number is 601-879-0002. Text line is open at 601-879-5060. And the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard. It is standard, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. Each and every one of you tune in every day. Shoot me texts, give me messages. Even the couple emails, starting to get those now. I don't even give out the email. But I appreciate that. And it all goes into the gonculator. And look, I'm just planting seeds. You're watering it, but it's God who's giving the increase. And we're going to plant a lot of seeds today. I was going to go off kind of down a different road. Well, you know what? Let's just start with the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act this morning. I woke up on X, and all of a sudden, I'm getting tagged and flooded with things saying, "Hey, go contact Roger Wicker and have him co-sponsor the SAVE Act." As we know, yesterday, the House passed the SAVE Act 218 to 213, sending the bill to the Senate. And there are a group of senators out there who have not sponsored the SAVE Act. Now, I understand why one person would not sponsor the SAVE Act, and that is the leader of the Senate for the Republicans, John Thune. He's the last one to get on board. There's Senate rules and parliamentary procedure that it makes it wise for him to do that. So don't be beating up on Thune necessarily for this one aspect. But you're going to see a bunch of other Republican senators out there who are not supporting it, like Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins. There's nobody in Meridian who's going to be able to convince those two ladies to support it. But there are people in Meridian, Hattiesburg, the Gulf Coast, Jackson, everywhere around the state that can go ahead and give Roger Wicker a phone call saying, "Hey, we would like you to co-sponsor this." And if you go to my X account, I've even put up non-doxing phone number. But I did put out the link to Roger Wicker's DC office if you feel so inclined to go ahead and give him a call and let him know that you want him to sponsor it. That number is 202-224-6253. I'll give it to you one more time, slow and easy. 202-224-6258. You know, this is one of the reasons I'm all about action, informing, doing stuff to make Mississippi a better place. And this is one way we can do it with the SAVE Act. We just listened to CBS News go on a 1-minute diatribe against ICE, and we'll get to them in the next hour. But we have to combat what CBS News, what NBC News does, CNN, MSNBC, whatever they're going to rename themselves to. MS Now is completely failing. It's a failing news organization because they lie. They have yellow journalism. Truthfully, when the printing press really started cranking out, we had a lot of yellow journalism. And now that we have the digital printing press, we've got a lot of yellow journalism. It'll work itself out on the wash, but we need to do that. Supporters say the bill addresses election integrity, citing Pew Research Center poll showing 83% of voters, including 71% of Democrats, back photo ID. Now, we all know this because we stay active in current events. We make time out of our day to listen to WYAB, do our own internet research. A lot of people who don't always agree with me have even told me they've looked this up. I and what's really got me kind of fired up today is I'm watching independent news sources that have never flavored a issue one way or the other. They've just called balls and strikes right down the middle. The but the way that they're wording things just now, it's almost like that their digital AI is starting to slant to the left. Critics warn the bill could disenfranchise voters, saying independent experts and voting rights groups caution it could block millions, and the Brennan Center notes women may face extra hurdles. Nothing could be further from the truth. I've come on this radio show for months now and said if someone needs help getting a voter ID, an ID to go vote in the election, let me know. Give me a call, text me 601-879-5060. I will come in my Prius. We'll drive you to Zach's office. We will get whatever we need to make sure that you have a photo ID. There is not one person in the state of Mississippi who can't get a photo ID. It's a big lie, and we all know it. So when I start seeing things like this pop up in places that claim to be independent or nonpartisan or real news, it bothers me. There is not one other nation on earth that allows mail-in voting, and we talk about that all the time too. Why do we ramrod a square peg through a round hole when we know it doesn't work? It's because we get this mass formation psychosis hot garbage coming in through the mainstream media. But this isn't just me saying this. Listen to our favorite crazy pollster, Henry Enten over at CNN. Um, this is gonna be one of the first times I ever reuse a sound clip in 2 different shows, but it's just so evident and it's so pertinent to what we're discussing today, we're gonna go with it.
Take a look here. Favorite photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it. 82% of Latino. 76% of Black Americans favor it. So the
82% Latino, 76% Black Americans favor voter ID, and yet the Democrats and their accomplices in the mainstream media are against it. And they sit there and they bombard you with message after message saying how bad it is. I've always said it's harder to be a conservative than to be a liberal because of a liberal, all you need is a big heart. And you just want to go ahead and nurture somebody. Conservative means, you know what? There have to be consequences to your actions. And you better think it out logically and plan down the road. And do not think that the left doesn't plan because they do. But let's go on with this because we need the SAVE Act, and everything that I can do in the next 5 or 6 minutes to convince you to go ahead and call Roger Wicker at 202-224-6253 and ask him to co-sponsor the SAVE Act, I'm gonna do. Let's continue with this.
bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country. A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country.
So if it's not controversial, why is everybody who's inside the system fighting like hell against it? Think about this. Those of you who are on the center left to maybe the middle left, and those of you crazy libertarians in the middle there who just, hey, this is how I feel. Government should be minimalistic. Why should we not have this photo ID to vote? We can't even call illegals illegals anymore. You talk to CBS News Radio. We have to take our country back. We need bold and courageous leadership. And Senator Wicker is in a Republican or a R+11 state. He's not up for reelection till 2030. And he has the people behind him. This should be a no-brainer. This should be a no-brainer for what he wants to do. The people want it, and he's our senator. He's our duly elected senator. Whether or not you like the fact that senators are elected by the public now because of the amendment change, hey, that's neither here nor there. He's our elected senator. Let him know.
It is not controversial by party, and it is not controversial by race. The vast majority of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj that, in fact, you should have a photo ID to be able to vote.
So something of a
So what's the big deal? Why all of a sudden is there such a big issue on this? Uh, I think it's because this is gonna actually test the filibuster rule in the US Senate. I think there are 52 out of 53 Republicans, uh, who would vote for this right now. Susan Collins is a whimsy, but if you look at the list of people who are on that list besides Susan Collins and Murkowski, you've got Mitch McConnell, which is the poster child for term limits, in my opinion. They say that, not one Democrat will vote for it, but I do believe Senator Fetterman from Pennsylvania is planning to vote for it. And if you notice, Fetterman is gonna get a challenge from the Democrats because he's truly independent-minded. You know, he votes with the Democrats something like 74% of the time, and they're gonna primary him. Think about that. I think about my conservative union score back when I was a county supervisor. I think I was like a 97% on the votes that mattered. There were some votes, that weren't necessarily viewed by the union, so I don't know how they would have liked it. But we need to make sure that we send the message to President Trump, number 1, that we want the SAVE Act, that we apply all of the tools that we have to apply pressure on Senator Wicker. And look, if you do decide to make a phone call, be firm but polite. No need to drop the F-bomb. If you're an elected official, say, "Hey, you know, I'm an alderman over here in this city right here. I'm on the executive committee in this county over here, and I talked to a bunch of people, and we really want you to co-sign this. We want you to vote for it." And of course, the dutiful 23-year-old who's gonna pick up that phone in Washington, DC is gonna say, "Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir." Whatever it may be, it's gonna make you feel like $1,000,000. But at least you did that, and, you know, you just don't have to call. You can tag them on X. You can tag the Mississippi GOP on X like I did. If you're not sure how to do it, you can always go to Andrew Gosser on X and just cut and paste it and make it your own. You'll see I didn't u oh, and this is the other thing too. You know, whenever somebody's really angry at somebody, you know, what Chuck Schumer, it's really easy to get a nasty picture of them. Don't. It doesn't do you any good. It doesn't say anything about you. Just use their official photo. I'm telling you, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and it's just a little bit easier to be sweet than to be a jerk. In that way, as you gain in stature, you're gained as someone who's reasonable, of sound mind, doesn't come off hot-headed. There's some of us who might have already blown that rep. That's okay. That's who you can be. But for those who are coming up who are just getting into this, I'm not saying that you're just a yes man or a yes woman, but that you go to get along. Because believe it or not, there's gonna be a point in time where you're gonna need something to happen, and you just completely spit all this venom on someone, and the next thing you know, you need their vote, and how are you gonna go there and do it? "Oh, it's just politics?" Sure, but they're human too. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB, and when we get back, we are gonna talk about some bold and courageous leadership inside the Mississippi Senate. This is the Andrew Gosser Show. We'll be right back. Bold and courageous, bold and courageous. That's what we are here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We are moving and grooving today. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the definition of illegal and meaning. So if I go to Google, which I'm getting away from more and more because they're just slanted, but it gives me a bunch of different dictionaries and meanings. And what's really interesting is that it didn't give me the AI pop-up like it normally does. So it must know where I'm going and where I'm thinking. Merriam-Webster says the meaning of illegal is not according to or authorized by law. N- Cambridge Dictionary, not allowed by law. Dictionary.com, forbidden by law or statute. Let me get a little bit more. If I go and ask Grok on X, it tells me Merriam-Webster, Cambridge Dictionary, and dictionary.com. All succinct, not all scatterbrained like Google does, try to get you going down rabbit holes. Nope. Then it says legal context. In law, illegal refers to any action, conduct, agreement, or statute that is against or not authorized by law or statute and is also called illicit or unlawful. So illegal immigrants means that they're forbidden. It's illicit. It's unlawful. It's not allowed by law. It's forbidden by law or statute. They shouldn't be here. And you are having the mainstream media, the lunatic left, absolutely brainwash the citizenry because we don't read books anymore. We scroll and we just look for the salacious highlights. There was a study I was reading, and this was back in 2017. People got their news by reading the headlines of the stories and not actually delving in. And sometimes the real story wouldn't even start until the third or fourth paragraph in, which is what happened here in a story that I'm going to use from the very left-leaning Mississippi Free Press. But this is where I came across it, and that's the story I want to use because this talks about a bold and courageous leader, Senator Hill. Undocumented immigrants. Notice how they don't say illegal immigrants, but they're here illegally. So that's your first clue, Mississippi Free Press, losers. Illegal immigrants entering Mississippi could face imprisonment under bill passed in the state Senate. Well, hurrah, hurrah. Mississippi may soon criminalize illegal immigration. Well, see right there. Look, I haven't read the first two full sentences. There's a headline and not even half the first sentence. And then they get it right. Criminalize illegal immigration. They're here illegally. It's forbidden. Under state law, and allow the Mississippi Department of Public Service to collect identifying information about any undocumented slash illegal immigrants in the state. You know, Mississippi Free Press, um, I don't recommend giving them any money or anything like that, but as someone who has studied the art of war and combat, to defeat your enemy, you must know them. And you gotta know how they do that. So you see how they sit there and they give you a bit of truth, but then they just completely go after it, after it. And in the second paragraph, this is where it gets really good. We are making it a crime for a person to come into Mississippi, not through a proper port or of entry, but to come into Mississippi directly from another country, said Mississippi State Senator Angela Hill of Picayune. Said when introducing her bill at the Mississippi Senate floor on Tuesday. So if someone comes to Mississippi through the Gulf of America and not through any other port of entry, this would create a state crime, a felony for somebody coming into Mississippi and bypassing an illegal port of entry. Now this doesn't happen a lot, but it is rare. But this is how we start winning the cultural battle. And look, illegal immigrants who by definition enter illegally the state by plane or boat or from some other country would face imprisonment for at least 2 years under Senate Bill 2114. So everybody, do you see where I'm going with the show? Do you see what I'm trying to do here? We talked about the app, ECM. If you haven't downloaded it yet, you should, because now you can look it up and you can see what the bill actually does. We have a state senator, Angela Hill, who is sticking her neck out for the Trump administration, sticking her neck out for America. We have to do more than just be keyboard warriors, telephone warriors. We need to make sure that we support our conservative leaders who are doing the things, the hard things, not just the things, but the hard things. She went on to say, "I think our government ought to be doing things related to immigration, but wouldn't you agree with the Supreme Court, the current law in our country, that this is a federal issue, not a state issue?" This was asked by Senate Finance Committee Chairman Senator Briggs Hobson, and she said, "What I would say is," and this is what really made me go to the story right here. This is Angela Hill speaking, Senator Angela Hill. "What I would say is that if this body had not fought to overturn Roe v. Wade, we'd still have a clinic over there that's pink," Hill said, pointing to the left, referring to the pink house. And then they go on and be all lovey-dovey about murdering babies downtown Jackson in the pink house. This is exactly what Mississippi is supposed to do. Are bills like this that can't get through in Illinois, that can't get through in Massachusetts, that can't get through in Minnesota, or any other liberal hellhole, California, Oregon, Washington, the soup du jour of the left, Virginia, unfortunately now. This is what we do. And you know what? Let the left challenge it. Let it go up and work through the court system. We can bash on all those liberal judges later on, but we are on the same team here, and it passed the Senate, and now it's on its way to the House. So, again, for all of you who got medieval over public education or private funding private education, the public education bill, parental rights bill, you all now have a reputation with your state senator. Now would be a great time to say, "Hey, this bill's coming over from the Senate. Can you get on board and support this?" This is how civics was intended to work by our founding fathers. People and blue collar crew, I know you're working, and it's gonna get nasty this weekend, and you're moving to get ahead of schedule. But put this in on your to-do list when you get a moment. We need more bills like this that go ahead and allow state resources to support ICE. Because if we don't start combating the news narrative, which is crumbling, but while it crumbles, it's also polarizing more and more people, and we need to get beyond that. And in the next segment, we're gonna talk about it because there's more than one of you who are upset about CBS News at the top and bottom of the hour, which we will talk about. But here's a chance for us, and again, I don't live in Picayune, and my state senator is hard left, and my state representative, Mississippi House District 66, is a hard leftist. I'll still drop him a note, just letting him know I'm there. You know, he didn't have a a an opponent in his race last time he ran. I've been doing a lot of research trying to train up my AI to help you all get yours trained up so that you can start looking up things that I look up and make yourself so much smarter. You are what you can consume. Are you consuming LSU football? I don't know why anybody would be doing that, but they're out there. Troy, please don't hold it against me. Brother John, don't hold it against me. Are you consuming Dancing with the Stars or the Olympics? You consuming other stuff? There's all sorts of other stuff going out there. We're gonna talk about it. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Yeah, you are back on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We're talking about this bill, Senate Bill 2114 by State Senator Angela Hill out of Picayune. I hope I said that right. You know, this Yankee's still getting his enunciations and pronunciations right. I'm getting there. Yazoo, Lafayette, I'm getting there. It's going to take me a while. Please give me a little bit of grace with it as I roll. There was a lot of wringing of hands by leftists who want to turn our country over to the globalist world leadership out of Davos. People need to recognize that adding an additional layer of law enforcement is not the answer. If federal immigration authorities are not doing a very good job of this, I can't imagine local law enforcement's doing any better. This was State Senator Riches. He then added that bills like SB 2114 have a chilling effect on the immigrant communities. No, no, no. They have a chilling effect on the illegal immigrants who are residing under the cover of the legal immigrants inside those immigrant communities. This is equivalent to sitting there having somebody who's a robber or a murderer living next to you, knowing that if you say anything, they're going to come after you if law enforcement doesn't do anything. I could use another example, but I won't, at least not yet. This just creates a huge rift in law enforcement and communities. No, no, it doesn't. All of us who are law-abiding citizens and appreciate our law enforcement officers, our police, our sheriff's department, ICE, Border Patrol, we don't have a problem with it. It's those who are masquerading and LARPing as freedom fighters who are getting paid thousands and thousands of dollars, just like they did in Minneapolis, Minnesota. That's causing them consternation, but not here, not in Mississippi. You know, there's broken windows theory in crime where law is enforced, crime just seems to go away. And we all know criminals are wimps anyway. It's always easier to go after a soft target like Minneapolis than a hard target like Mississippi. It's easier to be a criminal in Illinois and in Chicago than it is in Alabama. And we need laws like this. We need senators like Angela Hill to go ahead and put more of these things together. And so now it moves to the House. Why would you wanna call police if a law like this passes and you start asking about your paperwork before they can even investigate a crime that has occurred? Well, if everybody had an ID, a legal ID saying that they were immigrated to the United States legally, if you are here on a visa, your paperwork is ready to go. You are not a US citizen, you are not afforded the same rights in the Bill of Rights that is in the Constitution. It's only for our citizens. Tell them that the Bill of Rights works in China or in Russia. They'll laugh at you as they drag you off to the gulag. And people saying that we treat our immigrants horribly, go just ask the Muslim Uyghurs in China how they feel. Go ask them the concentration camps that the Uyghurs went ahead and Disney used them as slave labor. And then in their movies that Disney thanks the communist government of China. We are nothing like that, and those on the lunatic left who have the biggest microphones, they get the biggest microphones. They sit there and talk about how bad things are. You get the CBS News sitting there, oh, they're just horrible. How much time do I got? I got a little bit of time. Yesterday anyways, just closing up this, on Senate Bill 2114. It's going to the House. It passed the Senate 35-17, and it's going to the Senate Judiciary B. House Judiciary B. So let's go ahead and use my ECM app here. I'm in Judiciary A. I want to go to Judiciary B. Who's in that? The chairperson, it's a chairman. The chairman is Kevin Horan. The vice chairman is Jansen T. Owen. And then you've got the members. Let's see, do I know anybody? Jill Ford is on that committee. Celeste Hurst is on that committee. My representative, Fabian Nelson's on that committee. Guess, Mr. Fabian, I'll give you a call. But if you have the ECM app, you can go look on who's in Judiciary B and start working Senate Bill 2114. I promise you, the sooner you start doing it, the better off you're going to be. Man, there are a lot of people on that. I don't know what the political breakdown is. The app doesn't give me that. I know that the Republicans run the committee because they're in the majority, but we've got a lot to work on here. I'll see what I can do. And when I reach out to my state rep, I will report back here diligently and let you know that I'm not a hypocrite. Last thing you need is a show host who's a hypocrite and doesn't do what he says. I'm not going to record it or anything, but I will do it, and I'll let you know what he says. That's only fair. Now, yesterday, I want to make sure I'm in the right window here. Yesterday, we were talking about CBS Radio and how horrible some of the updates are. Sponsored by Pfizer. Blatantly inaccurate statements that are not designed to make you want to learn more about the issue that they're covering. It's only there to get you rage baited, tuned in, get the ratings, get the money, and then bounce. That's how mainstream journalism works anymore. You look at the ratings for most news sources. CBS ratings are up, NBC ratings are down, ABC ratings are down, Fox News is up, Newsmax is up, CNN is down, MS Now is down. Do you think that they're getting any feedback? Do you think that they're seeing it from or hearing it from their listeners? Probably not. All they're looking at are the dollar signs. And what did I say yesterday? And it was pertinent. It was pertinent. I'll read it again. For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. Yep. That is what journalism has turned into in America. We know this to be true. And after the show, my good friend Alan said, "Hey, let people know about that. And you're always welcome to call into the station and complain about it. But the truth of the matter is, WYB, we're just one syndicated radio station in that family of networks. So I want to give you the opportunity to give feedback to CBS News directly. Now, if you've noticed, CBS News has been had a change in leadership in their newsroom, and they are trying to make things for the better. But the radio side of it has not caught up yet to what's happening on the TV side and on the video side. But if you go to cbs.com/show feedback, you can they have a whole form you can fill out. And at the very bottom of choose a category, there is news. You can select a program. And you can sit there. I mean, they've got all sorts of stuff here. CBS News, different news organizations. And you can go ahead and you can type in your full name. Again, I would sit there and not be hateful or anything, but send 2 minutes of your time and let CBS News know that. And if you just happen to hear one of their sponsors, like Pfizer's, maybe say you're never going to use another Pfizer product again. I did have something shared with me on the text line. I do want to talk about it. I think this is the one that was it right here. Nope. You know, you are doing everything you can not to have mRNA vaccines injected into your body, but they're now using it on your pets. It's true. I mean, you think about it, these vaccine companies, you think they're just working on humans? Oh, no. We might be one of the biggest markets cash wise, but there are a lot more animals out there being born and slaughtered every year than humans. And, they're using CBS as their vehicle to do that. I just don't want to be the show that sits there, whines and complain, moans about, oh, we can't get this bill passed or, oh, this news is corrupt. It's important that we point it out, but man, it's life is just stinks if you're just gonna be a whiner and a complainer all the time. You can do something about it. Not only can you do something about it, but you can drag some people along with you, your spouse, your kids. I'll tell you what, Toots McCracken, she's getting an education on civics. She is one of the most it's really wonderful to watch her knowledge actually bloom, and you can see when she passes it when your kid or your whoever you're mentoring passes over the Rubicon of where they start thinking for themselves and they really understand. You've given them the tools on what to do and how to break it down, but it's up to them individually. And if you do it right, they turn out all right. And that's just it's a really great thing to see. When we get back, we're going to talk about the next hour and things that are going to happen there. And we've got to talk about what happened in Clinton the other day with this rash of threatening schools, and they found one of them, and we're going to talk about it right here on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYB. We will be right back. Yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show. We are moving and grooving. First hour is almost already in the can. It's been a good show so far. I'm grateful and thankful that we could finally talk about the Save Act in a way that was meaningful. I know so many of you care about it and want it to pass. But again, I try to focus my energy and firepower on things that I can actually have an impact on. I go back to rule two, control what you can control. Because if you can't, my goodness gracious, you're gonna spend all this time wringing your hands over Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, and I would venture to say that 99% of the state has never even been to Alaska or to Maine. Getting back to Senator Angela Hill's bill, you know that in Los Angeles now, they are setting up neighborhood watches and sirens that are warning illegal aliens that federal agents might be in the area, and it's not in English. People sit there and say, "Don't talk about civil war, it's irrational." I'm telling you what, you wouldn't recognize Los Angeles if you were coming from Mississippi. I'm going back to Chicago here in a little bit, and I'm sure I'm not gonna recognize a lot of it. I'm not sure if I'm even gonna be able to walk down the streets that I used to ride my bicycle on. The turnover has been that much, it's been that much of a change. We'll find out. There's lots of crazy stuff like this, and what people don't realize is, this makes the neighborhood feel good. We're doing something. We're fighting the power. We're being confrontational. They're actually tipping off the criminality agent of their community against people who would try to make their community more safe. And the thing about it is our community's safe as it is. All the drugs that are being run through there, all the child trafficking that's running through there. And if you notice, I haven't even really talked about what happened yesterday in Congress with Pam Bondi going up there. That's low hanging fruit. And I guess if we want to talk about it, if enough people complain about me not talking about it, I will. But for me personally, I truly don't care what the DOJ or the FBI does anymore. I don't want speeches. I don't want fiery sound clips. I don't want strongly worded letters. I just want people in cuffs being perp walked and being being held up to account for the crimes that they committed. In the next hour, we're gonna definitely talk about, another part of CBS News, actually a good side of CBS News that a lot of people aren't familiar with, but they've actually compiled all of the Epstein videos, and we're excited about that. We're also gonna have, Chris Hinkle was on Newsmax, I believe, yesterday. We're gonna have his clip on there. Anytime we can promote people in Mississippi doing great things, we're going to do it. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll see you in 7 minutes.
Goes on and on. It has to be torture for the family.
Control what you can control, people. Control what you can control. And that includes tuning into the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB, where we are streaming on Rumble, where we are streaming on X, where we are streaming on YouTube, and where we're streaming at the mothership, WYAB.com. So if you can't pick up the 50,000 watt blowtorch, you can always pick up the stream. Please like, share, and subscribe to the stream, and follow me on all those different platforms. It's just at Andrew Gosser, ANDREW GASSER. Phone number today, if you want to be on the program, 601-879-0002. Text line is open, 601-879-5060. And look, the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard. We are here to equip you, the saints. That's who the saints are. You're the saints. Just keep listening. You'll get it eventually if you haven't got it already. And look, we've been planting a lot of seeds in the first hour. We're going to plant a lot more seeds this hour. People are going to water it, and God's going to give the increase. When I was thinking about putting together the show last night and this morning, I had a couple stories run across my feed that I've tailored and what interests me. And what really interests me right now are the Republicans out there who are black-pilled. And I'm not saying that they don't have a good reason to be black-pilled. I mean, you look at how some of the Republicans have acted, especially on a national stage. It hasn't been the greatest. But that doesn't mean that I don't sit there and try to go ahead and go against the narrative. I've always been one who swam upstream. I'm not one of these people who goes with the flow just to do stuff. And there are so many ways and so many opportunities for us to have an impact here inside Mississippi that I figured I would use some of their own energy against them. And these are left-wing media news organizations who write these headlines and then sit there and try to say the sky is falling, just give up. Man, I'm not giving up nothing in life. I'm not a quitter. Are you a quitter? Do you give up? Or let me say this another way. If you know that something's not going your way, do you reallocate your assets and query to other places? Your resources, do you move them to somewhere else? With the House GOP majority teetering on the brink, Florida congressman plans to retire early, says report. Coming from Mediaite. This came out yesterday, well after the show was done. And, you know, this guy's been... I'm going to get out. You scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. Keep scrolling down, keep scrolling down. And the very... Oh, not the last paragraph, but the second to last paragraph. This whole story goes through and tells you about how this Republican congressman is going to quit right in the middle of session, just like MGT or MTG, whatever her name is, just like some of these other Republicans. They've just had enough and they're tapping out in the middle of session, shrinking the majority. Well, they sit there and they fill all of these Republicans full of doom and gloom. And then they write this. About a half hour after Schorser's tweet, a spokesperson in Dunn's office told the Tallahassee Democrat reporter Jim Rosca, whatever who he is, that the congressman did not intend to resign early and would serve the remainder of his term. Think about the mass chaos that the media is trying to instill in fear. It's kind of like the mass chaos that the media tried to instill over El Paso yesterday. And the loser mayor getting on the radio and making media statements saying that this was reckless. I wonder how he would have felt if those cartel drones started actually doing what they were supposed to do. Would he be saying the same thing today? He'd probably be saying they didn't get it up quick enough. They didn't do enough to stop the attack. And yesterday we talked about lasers a little bit, and now our government is admitting that they're actively using lasers, which is interesting. I have no idea what that could mean, but it's definitely interesting. So realize, ladies and gentlemen, that anytime they can get a headline like with GOP majority teetering on the brink, Congressman plans to retire early, you may want to go get a second source. You may not want to believe the sensationalism that's coming from the headlines. I know I don't do a very good job of that on my thumbnails and when I title the show, but I'm not here to necessarily scare people, to get people all fired up and worked up on stuff. I want people to be poll workers. I want people to be involved civically in their school boards. I don't necessarily want to get them all angry and fired up over that. It's just not my style. It used to be, I have to be truthful, it used to be. Then you get headlines like this. Democrat overperforms by 30 points in deep red Oklahoma. I know Oklahoma because I was stationed at Tinker Air Force Base, Cleveland County, New Walla, Oklahoma. It was great. My house that I had there, it was absolutely awesome. If I looked out to the west, there was Lake Thunderbird right there, and I could see the AWACS doing their pattern work. My neighbor was a pilot. He was really cool. He was in a different squadron than me, but we're friends. And what was really crazy is the tornadoes that would come up through Moore, Oklahoma, and they would stream right for us, and then they'd hit Lake Thunderbird and dissipate. And my kids were there. We were up on top of the hill watching tornadoes because that's what we do in Oklahoma. Remember being able to look 3 different ways and being able to see 3 different tornadoes, and it's just what it did. May 8th, that big tornado got to unfortunately be in the middle of that one. That wasn't fun. But this is coming out of Oklahoma, which, by the way, is the only state in the union where every county voted Republican in the state. Even Oklahoma City County voted Republican. That's how red Oklahoma is, and they've got a lot of really good legislation and a lot of good people out there. Although they do have a senator that needs a good challenge, or at least to be told that we didn't appreciate what he did back in 2018. Republican Dylan Travis won a special election Tuesday to represent Oklahoma House District 35, and that's honestly where the story should end. Special elections. You barely get 12, 13, 14%. It's a sad state of American civics, but the truth of the matter is, voters, we really don't care about special elections. We don't. Especially if they're not a U.S. Senate or a U.S. Congress seat. And then they talk about the margin of defeat. Travis defeated the Democrat by 64.2% to 35.8%. That's basically, can we call it like 29 points and change? I mean, it's a big margin of victory. But it's not as big as it was back in the general election. And the thing about it is they talk about all these different percentages, but the voter turnout was so low that it really didn't matter. And in the end, I've always told you, ladies and gentlemen, local elections are so much easier to win, especially a special election, because it's a smaller sample size. You only have to go after the really dedicated voters. But Travis still had 2,907 votes to Cruz's 1,624. And you have this big news organization, Newsweek, saying that the Democrat overperforms even though he got his butt whooped by 30 points. Now, if you take these in isolation and just read the headlines, you would think we're in deep trouble. But we're not. in Mississippi, I think we are learning real quick that if we do not pay attention to these smaller local races, we will be in trouble. And we can learn from actually studying, again, to defeat your or to know your enemy, you must defeat him, or to defeat your enemy, you must know him. I will continue to read these slanderous news articles and point out just how silly it is. I can sit here and type in all the Republican victories that we've had too. There have been a lot of them. And everybody's already doom and glooming the midterms in 2026. Well, if you sit there and take control of your own situation and make sure your own friend groups are good, then everything else will take care of itself. I can't necessarily worry about what's happening in Oklahoma or in Florida, but I can right here in the 2nd Congressional District, and there's a primary coming. You've got 2 candidates to vote for. On the Republican side, there's always a primary in the Republican 2nd District. You've got Ron Eller and Kevin Wilson. Ron Eller's on top, Kevin Wilson's on the bottom. Pick your 2. I'm not coming out here to do an endorsement on the radio. I don't wanna get in trouble with the FCC. On the other side of the coin, the Democrats, for the first time since 1993, I believe, Benny Thompson, J6 trader, is having a primary against Evan Turnage and Pertis Williams III. Benny's on top, Evan Turnage is in the middle, and Pertis Williams is on the bottom. This is the first time in a long, long time that both Democrats and Republicans are gonna have a choice in who's gonna go to the general election. It's always been Benny with the fish fry out in Western Hines. I've heard about it, never went. Not that I wouldn't wanna go, I would, but I just would be out of place, 'cause I'm not a Democrat, and I'm not like that. I'm not gonna sit there and infiltrate and do stuff like that. It's not my cup of tea, as it were. But some of you may. You've got a real opportunity if you're a Democrat and you don't like Benny, which I know there's a lot of you in Jackson who feel that way. It could be Evan Turnage. It could be Curtis Williams. Republicans, March 10th, we'll have a choice between Mr. Wilson and Mr. Eller. Mr. Eller and Mr. Wilson, you can take your pick. We are at a turning point, an inflection, if you will, of where we're going to have the opportunity to have a real race in the 2nd Congressional District in Mississippi, and I think that's where we as Republicans should be focused on. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We're going to take our first commercial break of the 2nd hour. We will be right back. Yeah, we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show. We're going to talk about the school and some of the school legislation and what's happening in some of our local school districts. But has anybody recently noticed just how much Microsoft Windows 11 absolutely sucks? I'm in the middle of doing the radio show, and it just decides to go ahead and do an update. It never used to do that. We're getting to the point. I mean, I miss Windows 96 or Windows 98. I miss Windows 7. I don't want all this new AI BS saying I need to have AI functionality. No, no, I don't. I'm telling you what, Linux is looking more better every single day. I would give up Microsoft Office at this point and just go get the generic version of whatever it is. I don't even care if it has the functionality with it. I don't need to be able to share my stuff with other people. This stuff that Microsoft is doing is absolutely unconscionable. But I digress. Many of you sent this to me about a threat at a Clinton public school district the other day. Yesterday night, actually. I was settling in after a day of work, and this is coming from Jackson Jambalaya, because that's where I first saw it, because I always will go to see Brother Kingfish before I go anywhere else. Not that other places don't have the same stuff or good stuff, it's just that we need more independent journalists out there, whether that be Brother Kingfish or Magnolia Tribune, Dark Horse Press. I haven't checked in with them in a while. We've had enough to talk about. On the evening of Wednesday, February 11th, administrators at Clinton Junior High School and Sumner Hill were made aware of 2 social media posts involving possible threats to student safety at Clinton Junior High School. I saw it. I'm not going to read the threat, but as a dad, as a father, I am nervous about that. That is crazy. On the morning Thursday, February 12th, around midnight, investigators with the Clinton Fire Police Department identified a 12-year-old suspect who was promptly apprehended by law enforcement officers. This individual will face all consequences legally allowed. They need to hammer him. He's 12 years old. He made a threat to a school. He needs to be charged as an adult, and he needs to put on his big boy pants because he's going to go do big boy time. Andy, where's your sense of remorse? Where's your sense of of honor? Look, there are things you can give grace to, and this person literally was on the brink of causing a panic in Clinton, Mississippi. This doesn't include the moron that is up in Madison County. And I don't know what the difference between the 2 bomb threats are, but Clinton got him quick. Go ahead, you're on the air.
So I kind of like where your head's at. You're saying that this person that was 12 that made a threat, they need to do some time. And I can see where that's coming from. But how about the people that actually have done things? When are they going to be held accountable? The people that have actually done things, not made threats, not talked about it. They did things.
Could these things involve other children?
Yes, I'm talking about these pedos. I'm talking about all these Epstein files. I'm talking about Pam Bondi redacting names of the people that did it and letting the victims' names be shown. I'm talking about accountability all the way up. And they keep saying, well, we can't release all the names because the system will crash. I don't care. Crash it.
Yep.
Crash it. If we got to crash the whole thing to save one child, let it burn.
There's another part to this, but I can't help but completely agree with you, Rick. And that's why I don't even give Pam Bondi and Kash Patel the time of the day at the FBI. All I say is until they start perp walking and start putting people on trial and behind bars, nothing else matters. And this goes back to our rule of law and how we as American citizens, you and I, Brother Rick, we've been brought up to respect the rule of law, to respect the judges, respect the prosecutors, respect the police. And all this action is just building up a lack of respect.
Well,
go ahead.
what frustrates me is the speed limit's 70. I do 75. I get a ticket. I got a fine. I got to hire insurance. I got all this. That's nothing. Why should I do 70 whenever they are out here ripping kids out of families? They're taking the stuff that I've read, the stuff that I've seen. I can't even say it on here because the FCC would pull your show.
Please
It
don't.
is that bad. It is that bad. And nothing is happening. Now, over in Europe, people have lost, some of their roles and they've gotten fired and they've gotten this and they're going to whatever. But in the United States, where 90% of the stuff is happening, nothing is happening. If there is no co-conspirators, and why is Ghislaine in jail? If there wasn't more to it, why is Ghislaine in jail?
Yep. Rick, let me ask you that. Can I ask you a quick question and then I'll let you go?
Absolutely.
Why aren't we as conservatives marching on DC or even in our capital to let Pam Bondi know that she needs to get off her behind and do something? Why aren't we doing something?
Two reasons. One, anybody who would have done that was at January 6th. And boy, did they spank our behinds on January 6th and teach us to be a good puppy dog. And two, we've been conditioned that, well, whenever so-and-so does this, well, then I'll know it's time to go. Nobody wants to take the first step. Nobody wants to be the organizer, because as soon as you try to organize anything, they're going to come in with all the crap they got on you from the Alexa or all the stuff they got on you from Twitter or whatever, and they're going to make an example out of you. Nobody wants to be the first example. But every one of us is going to have to stand in front of God and say, you know what, God? I knew they were doing this to kids, and I did nothing.
That is exactly how I feel. And I've talked about it. I haven't talked about it on the air necessarily, but I have talked about it. I'm like, why don't we go to the Capitol of Jackson and not be hateful or, and do anything that the left does, but just say, hey, Pam Bondi, get off your behind and start prosecuting.
I don't think she cares. I don't think she cares. Yesterday, when she was questioned about it, and she goes, did you not see the Dow Jones is over 50,000? I don't have stock in the stock market. I do have stock in my kids.
Yep. And the kid is the most precious thing that, we as dads get, Brother Rick, and we fiercely defend it. And so when we see people like Pam Bondi and others not going after it, and they've had 10 years, dude, 10 years. You can't tell me
it's not more.
You can't tell me that they don't have cases ready to go.
No, so you don't understand. They released 3 million files, but that's 1/10 of what they have. That is insane. My head can't wrap around it. I can, like I said again, I can do 75 and a 70, and I get a court case 30 days later. That is one ticket. There are they released 3 million. That is 1/10 of the total of what they have.
And here's the other thing I want to say about this before I go, and I've got a story on this too, but that they expect the American people to go through that. That's why we pay the money to the DOJ. That's why we pay the money to the FBI, so that they get this stuff, they go through it, they have it all linked out and ready to go. Chris Hinkle's a great friend of mine. I let him co-host the show. I think he is a great man of integrity, but this is real world stuff that's not happening. And the base is frustrated. Why do we go out and work so hard to get Trump put into office if they're not going to prosecute? You're a Flora, my friend.
Man, we should fill out our taxes and then take a marker and go through every friggin' number and redact it and then send that in.
You know what? They won't go after the pedophiles and the pornographers.
They'll come after you.
But they'll come after you if you don't pay your taxes, my friend. That's a fact. I'm so disappointed in the DOJ. And I've got a story here. Do you want to hang on while I read this, or do you want to?
Sure.
So listen to this. This, of all places, is coming from CBS News Digital. Videos in the Epstein files revealed disturbing glimpses of his private life. And what this is saying is the free press compiles the Epstein tapes, and they put all the tapes online where you can go look at them yourself, because who's got time to watch however many hours, 2,000, 3,000 hours of pedos doing crazy stuff? Who wants to put that into their brain? But the free press has done it, and they put it together in a data set. Most of the 2,000 videos come from data set 10. I don't even know how many data sets are out there. Do you, Brother Rick?
I don't know exact number, but I do know that there's been several reports of people that went in there to watch them, and they
Mhm.
could only watch a few hours, and they would come out vomiting,
Yep.
and they would have to take like they would have to go to um, mental clinics. I forget psychologists to get help because it was that bad.
You know,
But
when
yet
go
we
ahead.
can't get we can't get the names unredacted. I don't understand. There was a letter sent from the survivors' lawyers. I think it was 7 of it, might have been 6, sent into the DOJ saying, please redact these women's names. They don't want any part of it anyway. DOJ acknowledged the letter and then released in the documents their names, but covered up the perpetrator's name. They redacted the guy who did its name and released the women's names. What is that?
It's evil. It's evil. That's what it is. And you know, I was talking about the citizens or the free press that did this. The free press is actually part of CBS News, and people are freaking out because Paramount and Skydance, which was just taking, you know, CBS was just taken over by supposedly a conservative. They're starting to see the conservatives starting to do this. Now, I know CBS Radio is still left as heck, but I think we are starting to see changes. But until we get back to God, Brother Rick, and we really start enforcing those kind of laws, we're going to continue to see this filth and debauchery and evil descend upon the United States of America. I'll give you the last word, my friend.
I'm so sick of everybody saying, why don't Trump release the names or whatever? It's all Democrats. It's all Democrats. I don't give a crap if it's Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Green Party. I don't care. There is no two-tier system and two-party system anymore. This is good versus evil. There is people who are going to protect the children and people who are going to hurt the children. And I don't know which side you want to be on, but I know firmly where I stand.
I know where I stand too, brother Rick. I really appreciate the phone call. I hope all is well up in your neck of the woods.
Have a good one.
Yep. Take care. Bye bye. Be blessed. That was Brother Rick on the Andrew Gosser Show. When we get back, I'm going to tell you about a bill in the Mississippi House and Senate right now going through that could perhaps shed a little bit of light on what we were just talking about. Pan Bondi, I know you got a lot on your plate, but your performance to this point has been a joke. Do better. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Yeah, we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. People get fired up over their kids and these pedos who are out there. And, this is a great segue into the next part of the segment that I was going to do before Brother Rick called in. It was a great call. It would be better to be thrown into the sea with a millstone hung around your neck than to cause one of these little ones to stumble. And all these men and women who did all those unconscionable acts to those kids, they need the millstone. And something does need to be said to some of these FBI agents who have had to sit there and go through this smut. Where are you? You know what's out there. And you know the crimes that have been committed. I don't know how you deal with it. Rick said, people come out of there all completely screwed up. I imagine it's much like combat PTS. It's not a disorder because your mind isn't supposed to see some of the stuff that you've seen. A soldier or sailor, airman, Marine, sometimes we see stuff that, God never intended us to see, but we see it. And we have to deal with it. But in saying that, I often like to do a few things here. Oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. Windows crashes again. Anyways, I was going to talk about the Mississippi Constitution and how, Section 3, Article 18 basically says that we're supposed to go ahead and use the Bible in our instruction. I would read you that verbatim at this point, but Microsoft Windows 11 has crashed for the third time. Thankfully, it's not the station computer. It's just my laptop that I specifically use for my radio program. There's nothing on there other than Microsoft Office and Adobe Acrobat. My goodness gracious. At least it didn't go through a full reboot. I want to read it to you exactly. It's booting up. But our Mississippi Constitution specifically tells us that we can go ahead and use the Bible in our instruction. And Mike, there it goes. Sorry about this. This isn't poor show prep. This is terrible Microsoft Windows 11 technology. You suck. Section 18 or Article 3, Section 18, no religious test as a qualification for office shall be required, and no preference shall be given to law any religious sect or mode of worship, but the free enjoyment of all religious sentiments in the difficult modes of worship shall be held sacred, or different modes of worship shall be held sacred. So that means people waving flags. That means people who are on their knees. It protects it all. The rights hereby secured shall not be construed to be justified acts of litigiousness, injurious, or to moral or dangerous to the peace and safety of the state, or to exclude the Holy Bible in any public school of this state. Who's the state? Mississippi. Go to WLBT. Mississippi schools could add daily prayer and religious time under new bill. Good on WLBT. I did not see this, but it's true. This is House Bill 1310, ladies and gentlemen. 1310. If you go ahead and use the ECM app, you can plug it in. It passed on a vote of 80 to 35. I wonder who the 35 pagans were. The Mississippi House on Thursday passed legislation that would require public schools to set aside time each day for prayer and religious text readings. The measure would require every public school campus to provide a daily period for prayer and reading religious texts such as the Bible. This is going to get some people upset, but it is what it is. The Quran and others. Student participation would be voluntary and would require parental permission through a signed consent form. I think you could challenge the Mississippi State Constitution on that. Because again, are we traditionalists and the Constitution means what it said when it was written? Or is it a living, breathing document? Ooh, stay tuned for that. The bill gives parents and students choice, not a mandate, said Representative Jansen Owen, who advocated the measure. It provides schools a reliable legal framework to accommodate religious exercise without fear of litigation. And that's the real problem with what the left has done when it comes to the United States, is just litigating it all to hell. Look at all the judges right now who have just completely gummed up everything that Trump's tried to do. The litigation, the money, the time. Then, of course, the Democrat side, the Mississippi Association of Educators, the state's largest teachers organization, has expressed concerns. I've expressed concerns about the educators too. How do you keep control in your classroom? How do you teach manners and respect? Can my kid be a dinosaur today, and can he be a fruity pebble tomorrow? I've got concerns about that. About the proposal. Erica Jones, executive director of the association and former elementary school teacher with 20 years of classroom experience, said the bill could create conflicts between home and school. You will probably encounter students who want to follow a friend to maybe a different room for that particular religion that's being covered, said Jones. That might be something that our parents are not comfortable with. They might have their religion and they practice it at home. And again, that's part of the big lie where they just want to keep the church inside the four walls. They don't want to go out into the mission field per se. Shout out to the Sweet Bee getting back from Honduras. That's her second trip already this year, or in this cycle. The year goes from June to June, but this is her second trip. She's gonna have another one too. She's moving and grooving. I'm proud of you, Sweet Bee. Jones also raised concerns about instructional time in Mississippi. Well, I'll tell you this: if the school day is 30 minutes longer because they're getting an extra 20 minutes of Jesus every day, that's gonna be good. I'll even help you write the curriculum. Start off in Proverbs. You don't even have to get all completely New Testament out. Just start off with Proverbs, work ethic, morals coming drawn from there. I'm not saying don't include the Gospels and the New Testament, but you could start off in Proverbs. If every kindergartner started off with Proverbs, by the time they hit first grade, they'd be a totally different creature. But the left doesn't want that. According to the recent studies, approximately 77 of Mississippians claim Christianity as their religion. Educators worry that the state-mandated religious program could create tensions for families whose belief differ from that. No, it doesn't. You just don't get to go. And then your kid is influenced by kids who are Christians. Love thy neighbor like you love thyself. Put no one else before him. Oh my goodness, could you imagine what would happen? Mississippi would be blessed beyond success, which is just another one of the reasons that the Sweet Bee and I moved here. But my goodness. So anyways, that bill is gonna be going into the Senate. It passed 80 to 35. Will Delbert Hoseman take it up? I don't know. I don't put words in that guy's mouth, and I just call it like he does it. If he does something great, I promote it and say, "Yep, it's a good thing." If it's something I disagree with, I say that too. You gotta call it straight down the middle, people. You gotta call it straight down the middle. And I know there's a lot of people who will disagree with me, and that's okay too. We can have that debate. We don't need a duel like the founding fathers did, like, uh, Button Gwinnett. Don't need to do that. We can have honest disagreements, and that's what makes this country so great. It's what made, dare I say, Charlie Kirk so great. Never drew a weapon other than his mind. They I just think about we miss brother Charlie. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9. We'll be right back. I need to take a break. You never have to worry about the Andrew Gosser show letting you down. Windows, Microsoft 11 might wear you down, but not me. My goodness. I'm still fired up over that 2 times now in the middle of the show. My goodness. Even with the lock on that says, "Don't update between 8 AM and 12 noon daily." That's the only time. It could do it any other time. But no, it has to be an individual. It has to be its own program. It's gotta do what it wants to do. Never mind what we're asking it to do. But I digress. I'm really fired up over this. Getting back to the situation in Clinton, got completely sidetracked from it. You know, there are a lot of people who are saying, "Oh, he's only 12 years old," and then there's people on there there's saying that it's people are angry, grumpy old men blaming the cell phone for it. You know, when we were growing up, if we did something like this, um, we'd be taken out back by the principal. Clyde Centers was my principal, and he'd have a conversation with me. I didn't have a dad. He left when I was 7. He was out drinking and doing whatever else he was doing. But I had a couple other neighborhood fathers who would come by and pay me a visit, let me know what I did was wrong. Then my mom would whoop me. Then my cousin would whoop me. Then my other cousin would sit down and just talk to me for hours. And then I'd get whooped again. And I wouldn't do that. But we can't do that anymore in today's society. You've got kids who can hit a panic app, and all of a sudden the police will be summoned to their house because of suspected child abuse. So for those of us who say throw the book at the kid, yeah, throw the book at the kid. I'd go one bigger. I would interview him and make sure that everybody saw, not necessarily saw the interview, but got the notes from the interview of what this kid was thinking. And I'd sit down every kid in Mississippi, General Assembly, and have the chief of police, the sheriff out there, whatever law enforcement you can have out there, get some retired police officers, some retired Leos, uniformed and civilian clothes, and really drill into this generation that this type of behavior isn't acceptable. And if you get caught, you're going to do the time. Sucks for this 12-year-old, but I hope he does a lot of time. Let him consider his actions. There are consequences for getting medieval. This whole generation has absolutely no idea what a consequence is. They can get on their TikTok, they can get on their Insta, they can get on their Snap and just act the complete fool, and no one will ever know the wiser. It allows them to think that they can get away with it, but they can't. Because even if you think you can get away with it, someone else is still gonna see it, and you're gonna get caught. It's absolutely diabolical to me that we are having to deal with this in modern America today. Look, I thought it was a pretty good show. Show prep was good. The content was good. I thought it flowed pretty good. It was great to hear from some of you, especially a couple of you I haven't heard from in a while. I do appreciate those texts. I do pray for a lot of you who are going through situations right now. I'll keep you prayed up. Look, we'll be back to do this again tomorrow. And tomorrow, what is it? It's a Founding Fathers Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Who will it be? Will it be one of the big names? Or will it be one of the smaller, lesser known ones? You'll just have to stay tuned and wait. You've been listening to the Andrew Gosser Show. Until I see you all again, ladies and gentlemen, take care. Be blessed. Oh, man. I completely dorked that up.